Hello, lovely, lovely, lovely people. The electric's back on. It's been off since 8 o'clock this morning and just come on now. And the time is, I can't see because I've got the window shut. But it's got to be 6 o'clock because it's starting to get dark. I want to talk about today what I've spoke about before. And it's about, I'll get that gimbal right. It's about your Filipinas family or your partners, your wife's family here. And how many of us expats don't have any problems at all with the families. And there are two categories from what I can make out. One is if your wife is well educated and she's got a good job, then the chances are her family might have had money to put her through a good education. So they probably have got money. So they will not be looking at the foreigner as their little retirement fund, because I think that's how they look at it. My wife's family certainly did. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. And you know the story when they're always expecting this, expecting me to buy that, and it did cause a lot of problems between my wife and her family, because at the very beginning, my wife, as you know, Mira, she's very passive, and she's very, she's just very quiet, unless I upset her, and then she's not, or my son upsets her, then she flips. She can flip. She's a flipper when she wants to flip. But generally speaking, when it comes to things like that, it really got me down sometimes, because I thought it's me against the world, meaning it's me that's got to deal with everything. And I still find that now with many things here with my wife, because she doesn't talk to people a lot, like for directions. If I want to find directions, for an example, or I would need to go in a shop and ask something, and because my Visaya is very, very gamma, and my pronunciation isn't very good in Visaya, I can generally get by with it. I can get by, but there's some things I can't get by with. And I say to my wife, go and ask that over there, will you? Or go and ask for this or that, or have they got this? And she'll walk over very slowly, and she's like, oh, like that. And I can see she doesn't want to do it because she feels shy and embarrassed to do, because she's very passive. So that gets on my nerves. It still does get on my nerves. And I say, Mira, you've got to be a bit more assertive. But that's her character. I'm never going to change that. But I did have a good surprise, and I was very, very impressed when Mira did tell her family to stop expecting things, because it was putting a bit of a strain on our relationship. Because I said to Mira a few years ago, I said, if this continues, Mira, I said, I'm just going to end up going. Because it was stressing me out a lot, people. It really was. Because when I was giving to her family, and I don't give anything now, by the way, I don't give anything because I don't have to, because her uncle and whatnot, he's working for the landlord that I got him the flat or the apartment. He's working for the landlord, so the rent gets deducted from his salary. So, and it's a pretty good salary that he's on, here for the Philippines anyway. So I was really stressed out because they was wanting this and wanting that. And it was my own fault from the beginning because I did it. And this is what I'm saying. When you come here and you meet your wife's family, if they are wanters, well, you will probably feel good about helping. You will. I promise you, you will, because you're with your partner, and it makes your partner happy that you're helping her family out, and blah blah blah. But it does weigh you down, and it gets pretty tiresome. And the moment you stop doing it, they forget about all of the good things that you've done. All of those good things are gone, and they just look at you then as put like a greedy person, a selfish person, because you've just simply said, no, I can't do it. I've got my own family to contend with. And I had all of this, people. I had all of this, and this went on for months and months and months. When I said no, and they were like texting my wife and blah blah blah. But my wife was showing me the texts. I don't know if she showed me all of them. I wasn't bothered. I wasn't interested. But And then my wife said to them, like I said, she says, look, you got to stop this, because it's putting a strain on mine and Stephen's relationship. But they didn't care about that. So what happened was there was no contact. My wife stopped contacting them. She didn't block them at the beginning, but when they were messaging, because I said to her, all the time you're messaging back, it's like text tennis. You're giving them more ammunition. I said, just don't text at all. Just if you don't want to block them, just let them keep texting, but just don't answer back, because if you do, then they're going to reply with something else. With more shit. So that's probably from all of the things in the Philippines. Okay, the heat, which will get like a lot of you down, and it will. The patience that we need here, the timekeeping is non-existent if you like arrange to meet someone here. The the replies that you get when you go in a shop and you try and ask for something and they say no more sir, no more sir, out of stock. That's what they normally say. Like today I was in Diplo trying to get some bits, out of stock sir. And I said, so I said, did you ever have them in stock? No. So I'm thinking, well, why are they out of stock if you've never had them in stock? It's things like that. And that will get you down, and like the loud motorbikes, the loud noise. But listen, for me, because I've been here for 9 years in May, 9 years, I will never get used to it, but I learn to live with it. And some things do get me down sometimes, but I still love it being here. It's not paradise, people. It's not a paradise place to live. It's really not. It's a beautiful place at times, beautiful places to go to, but there's still beautiful places in our own countries to go to. And another thing, the older we get, the less tolerant we are with noise. I kind of get this. My father was the same, because I think, oh, you mourning old bastard, what you're mourning for, but now I understand him, when there's a bit of noise going on. And that will get you down as well. Unless you live in a subdivision or you've got like an acre of land and you put a big fence around it and you can't ignore karaoke's or chickens around you and dogs barking. So when people say, is the Philippines for you, or the Philippines is not for you, that's just their perspective of it. It can wear you down. And, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I get worn down with it, but then I look at my family, my son mainly, and I think, it's brilliant. It's all worth it. And it is all worth it. And the main thing is I haven't got any regrets of moving here and getting married and having starting a family, especially at my age, for God's sake. But I haven't got any regrets. That's a very important aspect. I think if I had regrets, I think I'd have to grin and bear it, because I've got a family. I just couldn't get up and leave through my choice. And here's another thing. If my wife said to me, Stephen, piss off, I don't want you here no more, I would, because that's the sort of person that I am. I would never stay somewhere where I'm not welcome. That's the kind of person that I am. It's my character. As hurt as I would be, and as upset as I would be, of course I would. But another thing, even if my wife said to me, Stephen, get out, I don't want you here no more, I would still pay child support for my son. I certainly wouldn't for this new one that's coming along. So just because if she didn't want me here, I wouldn't cut ties like that. I wouldn't, and I would still want to see my son, because I wouldn't leave the Philippines if we split up. I simply wouldn't. I'd still stay here, because this is now my home. Now, the patience thing. Being British, we have patience anyway, because we are used to queuing. So I think being British, we have a little bit more patience. I think. Like, if I'm queuing up somewhere, it doesn't really bother me. What does bother me is when people are pushing in front of me. They behind me, okay? And not necessarily pushing in, but I'm there, and they will speak to the cashier, and they will get served, before me. So I do it now. I've started to do it. If there's someone in front of me, and rather than me waiting, to ask a question, have they got this? I'll show them. The best thing to do is to take a picture of what you want with your phone and show them, because then they will know what you're talking about. So rather than waiting and people pushing in behind me and say, excuse me, have you got this? And they will look at it, and they say yes or no, and then I know then, because the person behind me is going to do exactly the same thing. And that used to really get on my nerves when I go to the local shop. And I said to the person, because I've been going there for a long time, and I said to the girl whose shop it actually is, when it happened, and she served them first. I said, hold on a minute. I said, I come in the shop all the time. I was nice about it, of course. I said, why did you serve them first? I'm here. I'm at the counter. She said, oh, I'm sorry, Steve. I'm sorry. I said, but now she doesn't. So if someone's behind me and they do that, she'll say, no, Stephen's here, or I don't get any preferential treatment. It's how it should be. If someone's at the counter, you should get served before the person behind you. Or if someone pushes in, it's like, fuck, I'll get the back of the queue, or you'll get from where you've come from. So those things, get on my nerves. And the places that I do go, it does happen. Sometimes it does happen. Every vlogger's perspective of the Philippines is their own perspective of it. I can only tell you what I have experienced here. And like I said, if your Filipina's wife is well-to-do, or your Filipina wife is well-to-do, then you're not going to have the problems that I did, like the constant wanting. Like I said in a video, I married you, I didn't marry your family. And that's a fact. And this is what we all should think, because as much as we want to give our Filipina's family, especially when we first come here and everything is new and lovely, and they will love you. They will love you. And you think they're very, very good people. And I've got to admit, most of them are. But most of them are even better to you when you're giving. But when you're not giving, they will still be nice to you, I suppose. Especially if you haven't done it from the start. If you haven't given them from the start, they will accept it. And they will realise that you aren't their retirement pension. So you've got to think about all these things, people. And it will grind you down. I promise you that. The timekeeping doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, I live here now. I haven't got anything that I need to be on time for, except my work that I do. But if I'm meeting a Filipino friend, I know if it's 1 o'clock, it's going to be 2 o'clock. It's certainly not going to be 1 o'clock. It's going to be after that time. I'm used to that. It's happened to me so many times. So that does not bother me one little bit. The heat doesn't bother me as such. The high humidity bothers me more than the heat. And like today is very, very hot, but it wasn't that sticky. And I mean that stickiness when you just sit down and you sweat and you haven't done anything. You think, what's going on here? And you're having like showers after shower after shower. That gets to me sometimes. I don't mind going out with some Filipinos if it's my idea. I don't mind buying them drinks all night. That I don't mind doing. I don't do it now because obviously my wife didn't like me doing it. She doesn't like me getting pissed. Not that I'm a nasty pissed, but she doesn't like it because I just come back and hello babe and all that, and I put our video up and I start singing, think I'm like, Elton John, and I'm truly not. But when I'm drunk, I think I am. And she'll just say, oh, go to bed. And I say, yeah, I'm going to bed, and that's it. So I'm not a nasty drunk, I'm a happy drunk, but I just pass out. But she doesn't want Kaylin seeing that. I don't want Kaylin seeing that either. So I don't do that. I still do it sometimes, but not very often. And I don't mind buying Filipinos drinks. I really don't. If I, if I welcome them, or if I invite them to my little, my table, I'm not expecting them to go drink for drink, because I know that some of them do it. Some of them do it. Some of them do drink for drink, but some of them don't. It doesn't bother me, the ones that don't. If I've invited them to my table, it's when it's expected that I don't like. Perfect example of this morning. I went into the local shop and I bought my son a C2 drink. And there's a local drunk up there. It's all like, he's breathing all over me. This was 8 o'clock in the morning, people. It was about 8:30 in the morning. I thought, oh God, I can smell the tandoori in his breath. And I went to get, the fridge, and he went, one of them there, pointing at like a red horse. And the shopkeeper who knows me said, no, don't do that. That's wrong. It's that I don't like when they expect. And some of them can be pretty volatile, meaning you say no to a drunken Filipino. They say it was in England, but not so much, I don't think. You say no, they could be offended with that, and then they can, perhaps turn on you. I had it once here when I first got with my wife, and I was out with them all night drinking, and I went home and I said, I'm going home now, and they said, one more bottle. I kind of flipped myself. I thought, you cheeky bastard, one more bottle. I've been behind you drink for the last 4 or 5 hours. and that could have got that got a little bit heated. But I didn't know the law of the land. Now I know the law of the land. I wouldn't do that again. I'm just saying, no, like I've got no more money now. I'm going home, and then they wouldn't have asked for a drink. But so there's lots of things, to bear in mind in the Philippines. And people, listen, believe me when I say it's not paradise. It's not. So many people portray it that it is. If you're living by a beachside every day and you've got plenty of money and you haven't got any neighbours and you aren't bothered about time and patience and the food, then it will be your paradise. But if you live in like most expats do, where you have got neighbours, and those neighbours will eventually get on your nerves with the noise, or the chickens might get on your nerves. They don't get on my nerves now. The dog barking night time don't get on my nerves. I don't hear it. We've got these windows things, and it cuts out a lot of that noise. These neighbours down here are the noisiest neighbours ever, but I'm used to that now. I'm used to it. Like they used to put their music on all. When they first came, they were quiet, and then when they was here for a little while, and thought that they had their feet under the table and they got to know everyone, they used to blast their music. So I said to my wife, says, look, you have to go and tell them, because it was loud here. They only lived there. And I said, tell them to turn it down a little bit. So she did, and they did. And then they did it again. So I said to one of the girls, and I said, come up here a minute. And she wouldn't. I said to Mira, tell her to come here when their music was on. I said, tell her to, and she did. And Mira said, have a listen. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. She said, I didn't realise it was, like it was that loud here, like in my place. So now they are nice. They do put their music on. It's Filipinos. It's their country. Let them do what they want. But we are still entitled to have some peace. We live here. I live here as a permanent resident, and I do expect to have a little bit of peace from time to time, which I do get now. Now they are down there now making a noise now, not with music, but there's many of them. I think there's about 25,000 in the house. I think there's another 100 going in every day. Bit like immigrants in England. They come over by the boatload every day. But I'm kind of used to it. But I love the Philippines, people, for all of its faults, and I do love the Philippines, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And it might be for you. And if it is, brilliant. If it's not, then I'm sorry about that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm going to go now because I've got work tonight. I've got a couple of classes tonight. But weekend tomorrow. And tried to sort out this steering rack for my car. That's another story anyway. That's another story. People, take good care. I'm over and out, and I'll see you next time. I might do a live in the morning. I don't know. I'm not saying yes because I don't know if the electric's going to be off, but I'll try. See you later, people. God bless you all. If you're religious, if you're not religious, I'm still saying it. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Over and out.